My name is Liam Barnes. I'm the head of demand generation at Bionic. Bionic is a cybersecurity startup focusing on application security. So if there's any other application security or cybersecurity folks out there listening, uh, welcome. And feel free to message me if you have any more questions after. Today, I'm going to be talking about demand generation KPIs that you should be measuring and probably aren't. The basis of this is kind of how we need to be changing our approach and how we need to be measuring demand generation and the go-to-market as a whole. So I'm going to be starting off with a little bit of a quote here. And that quote is by someone you may know, Peter Drucker. And it's, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And I think this message is great. And I think obviously Peter Drucker is well known for many reasons, but sometimes it can be just a little bit too on the nose. So I found a different quote that I wanted you to think about for the next 10 to 12 minutes here that I'm going to be speaking to you. And that is, if you don't measure it, you're screwed. And this was also written by a world famous, what I call philosophizer, me. So I wanted to kind of discuss where most of us are today when it comes to measuring demand, right? And it looks a little bit something like this. And I'm going to break it down into kind of three different categories. First one is going to be cost metrics, which are typically in the form of a cost per increment, right? So you see cost per lead, cost per acquisition, pipeline, maybe if you are being measured on that, right? Return on investment, things like that. These are typically, the cost metrics that finance wants you to be looking at. Okay. Then there's going to be marketing conversions. These marketing conversions are typically, there's more than this, but there's typically a handful of conversions that are specific to marketing channels, right? What is the conversion of MQL to SQL? What is the conversion of pipeline? What is the conversion of closed won? Which are all great metrics that you should be measuring. But they're typically very siloed into the channel by channel in marketing only. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to call is output. So output is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's a total number of something, whether that's traffic, leads, attendees to an event or a webinar, how many blogs are written, etc. And many of you are probably asking, what is the problem with this? Well, if you look at every other team, an entire organization, nobody speaks this language, right? Over the past years, I've been speaking to a lot of finance and sales leaders and teams, and almost every single one of them don't care about a handful of these metrics, especially things like leads, traffics, attendees, etc. What they really want is they want deals that they can close. They want people that are showing high intent coming inbound, that are easy to convert into pipeline and easier to close. And since we don't speak the same language, this is the kind of metric that you'll see from somebody like in finance, right? How many more leads do we need to hit our pipeline goal? I'm sure I'm not the only person that's heard this. And so in order to change the way that we measure demand, the way finance and other teams see us as well, we need to reimagine how we're measuring successful go-to-market strategies in general. So this leads to what should we be measuring? So I kind of broke these down into three parts, similar to how we did it before. They're going to seem very similar, but I'm going to kind of change the focus of those three categories. Okay. The first one is going to be go-to-market metrics. And these are metrics that give you a better understanding of how the entire go-to-market team is performing, right? When we're executing on marketing activities, context is super important. And if you can't show how efficient or inefficient marketing or other parts of the go-to-market team are, then you really can't help the company properly grow. And an example of this that I'll give you is if you're advertising on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and the cost of advertising is just too high, and you have a very good understanding of the cost efficiencies in every other go-to-market channel, and you decide to take your money from your budget and allocate it towards something else, and that scales, you're going to look like a go-to-market leader, not just a marketing leader. Okay, and the second one is going to be conversion metrics. So this is pretty similar to the one before, but the one thing I want to harp on is that you should know every single conversion rate at every step of the marketing process and sales funnel. This will help you better understand where leaky holes are and where you need to spend your time. And the last one, very similar to output, but I'm going to kind of turn it on its head a little bit. And in a general category of awareness, what I really mean is you should be measuring both qualitative and quantitative awareness, right? And the purpose of measuring this is really to figure out what are strong brand awareness indicators and how quickly you can find those indicators so that you can make better marketing decisions. So let's start off with go-to-market metrics. And I want to caveat this by maybe a piece of self-reflection and honesty is both people in marketing and sales tend to have inflated egos about their impact in a go-to-market team. And I know that some of the marketers here are maybe sitting here shaking your head or wanting to blame it on sales, but it's true. We all think that we have more of an impact than we probably do. And I think the one important takeaway from that is you can't gloat about how great you are unless you're able to quantify and measure every other part of the go-to-market. And these are only a few of many go-to-market metrics that you should be measuring, but these are three that I really like to focus on as they're pretty good indicators of how successful certain parts of the company are. The first one is pipeline velocity, which is how quickly a meeting turns into an opportunity. And this is typically in terms of days. This is an indicator of intent, right? The quicker that a deal moves into an opportunity, usually the higher intent somebody is. And if you hear a lot of people on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff talking about this pipeline velocity metric, it's really trying to find channels within your marketing where you can find really low pipeline velocity numbers, which obviously means higher velocity of turning into opportunities. The next one is pipeline to spend ratio, and I like to use this as an efficiency indicator, right? And typically somewhere between 8 and 10 is a really, really solid pipeline to spend ratio, assuming a 25% close one. And when you're looking across each channel, this is a really, really good way of figuring out potentially where you're overspending. The last one is opt to close one. What's the conversion of pipeline to close one, right? And this will help you reveal which channels have inflated pipeline numbers. The next one is for conversion metrics, right? And I put this back on the top just so you guys can continue to remember this. Measuring every conversion point is super important. And I mentioned too that I focus pretty heavily on from an efficiency standpoint. I dropped some others down there below so that you could see a little bit more, but wanted to go over these two since we only have a limited amount of time here. The first one being close lost pipeline percentage. And basically what this is what percentage of pipeline is close lost. In a 25% conversion rate, it should be somewhere around 75% in a best case scenario, worst case scenario. But I wanted to kind of bring this up because I think the word opportunity is kind of a BS metric in some senses. Really, an opportunity should be measured at whatever stage of the sales funnel where you close 25% or more business. And so this is a really good way for you to figure out, again, inflated pipeline numbers. The next one is meeting to operate. I really like this metric because it's what I call my time waste metric. And it's basically if you have if the number is too high, if you're taking too many meetings in order to get one opportunity, that can show some potential bad targeting or low intent. If the number is low, this could be a potential gold mine and a place where you can try and scale. And so obviously there's a lot more that I want to get into, but I can't, there's not a lot of time. So maybe Metadata will help me create a course on this. And the last one is awareness metrics, right? So the way that we currently measure brand awareness is pretty tough. And typically it comes in the form of clicks, organic traffic, engagements, email opens, things like that, which in my opinion don't really show any validity. And so the three that I wanted to kind of cover today are branded search volume growth. And so how many times are people Googling your branded terms month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, right? If you're showing steady growth, that usually is an indicator of strengthening brand awareness. The next one being word of mouth inbounds, right? This has been a very hot topic as of recent. How many people are telling you that they heard about you from a friend, a colleague, or somebody else? Another very strong brand awareness metric. And the last one is territory or TAM coverage. This is something that I've written about before, more in depth, but it's basically a way for you to understand how many people within your TAM or within your territory, if you're a sales rep or if you're a localized demand gen specialist, are have an opportunity that's associated with the account. Have we met with, have visited our website, have interacted with our ads, are viewing our ads across different platforms, our customers. I think something to kind of understand about marketing is sometimes our job is just to be visible and memorable, and this is a great way to figure that out. So kind of to sum it up, big takeaway is this kind of quote that I've written. In order to change the way we measure demand generation, we need to reimagine the way that we measure successful go-to-market strategies. Marketers are constantly talking about wanting to have a seat at the table. And I think that the best way to do that is go build yourself a better chair to sit on. If you have any more questions for me, you can message me, LinkedIn. I'm always willing and wanting to talk to other marketers. So please do. And thank you so much, Metadata, for allowing me to speak. I can't wait to see all the rest of the presentation.